Assalamu alaikum. Welcome everyone. Today is our last session, seventh session of this series of webinars on deformity correction. And today's session is about oblique plane deformities. Up till now, we have discussed frontal plane deformities, and we have also discussed sagittal plane deformities. We have discussed multi-apical, uni-apical deformities, and rules of osteotomies. Today is the last session and it is on oblique plane deformity, when a deformity is neither in frontal plane or in a sagittal plane. So we call it an oblique plane. So let us now move to the next session, the proper session, which is today's session, the oblique plane osteotomy. Whenever I say the word oblique plane osteotomy, we discussed initially in our first sessions, we discussed the frontal plane deformities. And then in our next sessions, we discussed sagittal plane deformities. So what happens when the deformity does not, the true magnitude of the deformity is strictly not in either of frontal plane or in a lateral plane, or when you do an x-ray, when you do an orthogonal x-ray of a deformity, you see a deformity in your AP plane or in the lateral plane. Let me demonstrate it to you. Okay. Yes, sure. Sorry. I have here a 3D, Satar, I hope you can see this. This is a 3D reconstruct of a deformity case of mine.
Yes,
what I wanted to show you here, look, there is, look, focus on the right side of the femur. Now you can appreciate that there is an obvious varus deformity of this leg, okay? And this is, assume that this is a true AP X-ray of the patient. In this AP X-ray, you can clearly see that there is a deformity, a varus deformity of the leg. Now let me rotate it 90 degrees. Now, what has happened? In this X-ray, you don't see any deformity. Is it so? In this X-ray, now, when I've taken the lateral view, because it was a pure frontal plane deformity, in the lateral view, you're not able to appreciate any deformity, okay? This is a pure one plane deformity. So what happens is when you see a deformity in both the planes, as in this case, this is the X-ray of a young girl about 16-17 years of age, and this is the X-ray which you have. Everyone, please mute yourselves. Okay, so now what is going on in this X-ray right now? You can see a deformity in the AP view and in the lateral view. So what does it mean? It means that the deformity is in another angle, in another plane. Please, why are you people unmuting yourselves? I've allowed the option to unmute yourselves because so that Satar can unmute himself. Rest of you, please do not do that. Now, as I was saying, that the deformity is in the oblique plane. Let's look at this leg. Okay, as you can see over here from the front, you can see there is an obvious bump on the lateral side, and if you see from the lateral side, there is a bump on the anterior side. Let's assume that this is a bone, and this is an AP X-ray. You can see a deformity in this AP X-ray. What will happen when you see your lateral view? You'll see the bone like this. So there will be no obvious deformity. Okay, again, this is, let's say that this is a tibia, this is the ankle, this is the lateral side. So the apex of the deformity is medial, and this is a valgus deformity. Okay, but what will happen when you see a lateral view? You will not be able to appreciate any deformity. But what will happen if the deformity is like this? So if you feel like the deformity is not like this, what will happen if the deformity is like this? If it's in the oblique plane. If it's like this, obviously you will see some deformity from the front, and when you see from the side, this is from the side, you again see some degree of deformity. So this is an oblique plane deformity, which you can see in both your planes. So if you want to see your deformity, maximum magnitude of your deformity in the oblique plane, what you'll have to do is you'll have to take an X-ray which is a non-orthogonal view, which is not a standard AP or a lateral view, but it is exactly, if this is a deformity, this X-ray will be from here. It will be exactly perpendicular to the plane of the deformity, so that you will be able to see the maximum magnitude of your deformity. Okay. Let me show you. Open up that. Look, this is the X-ray of the girl. This is the planning. Okay. In this X-ray, the magnitude of the deformity, actually this was a very complex deformity. This patient had multiple apices in the frontal view. So for sake of discussion, we're just going to just ignore this one. Let us just focus over here. This girl had a 42 degrees of deformity in the AP plane and a 50 degrees of deformity in the lateral plane. So this girl had a deformity in both the planes. So what are you going to do when you encounter a case like this? Let us I'm not going to go into the much details of the placement of hinges and all this. I'll be discussing the basic how to assess the deformity, and then how do you correct this deformity acutely. I'm going to focus on the acute aspect, because which is most of you will be doing. Let's see if this is the deformity. Okay, so now first I'm going to just demonstrate to you what I'm going to do, and then we're going to actually do it. This is, let's see, this is a tibia. This is from the AP view. And then when you see from your lateral view, you again see a deformity. Okay. So what are you going to do? So now, as you can see, this is a deformity. This is anterior. This is posterior. This is medial, and this is lateral. Okay. So what are you going to do is you're going to, this form of planning is called graphical planning. Okay. So we're gonna make a graph, and then we're going to put the calculations, our measurements over the graph, and then we're going to assess the deformity, the true magnitude of the deformity. So let us just assume, let us first assume that we have planned, we have marked a Cora over here and here. We first plan do our planning on individual X-rays, like I showed you earlier. First, we're going to do the planning on AP view and lateral view. So let us say that while I was doing an AP view, on AP view, I'll be getting either a valgus or a varus deformity. Okay. So as in this case, there is, as the apex is medial, it's a valgus deformity with apex medial. Okay. How am I going to mark this on this graph? Okay. This is the picture of the foot, and this is the big toe. Okay. And while I show the big toe, which means that this is the medial side, this is the lateral side, and since the fingers are up, this is the AP anterior side and this is the posterior side. This is how I'm going to mark a graph, make a graph. And then 1 millimeter of deformity, 1 millimeter of measurement over my scale will tell me 1 degree of deformity. So let us say that this is a 30 degrees of deformity in the anterior plane, and in the AP view, and 40 degrees of deformity in the lateral view. So how am I going to mark it? Since it's in the apex is medial, 30 degrees medial, I'm going to go 3 centimeters, 30 millimeters medial. Let's see if it's 1, 2. Let's assume that this is 30 centimeters, 30 millimeters, 3 centimeters. So I'm going to mark my place over here. This will be my medial point, and then it's an anterior deformity, or as I will say, it's a procurvatum deformity. So 40 degrees. So I'll do the same. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I will mark my place over here. This will be my location for in the anteroposterior direction in the lateral view, and this will be my location in the lateromedial direction in the anteroposterior view. So what will I do is I will extend these lines and I will join these lines. Okay. So now that I have joined these lines, this point is going to tell me the exact location of my oblique deformity, because it is somewhere in between the anterior plane and the medial plane. Okay. It is a combination of a valgus and a procurvatum. It is not like this. It is not like this. It is somewhere like this. As I told you, if you see from the foot end, this is, as you'll see, this is a procurvatum deformity, and this will be a valgum deformity. This deformity is like this. My planning has told me that this deformity is like this, and the distance from center to this point, this is, when I will measure it in scale, this will tell me the degrees of deformity. Okay. This is how I mark the exact location and the magnitude of deformity in an oblique plane. Okay. Are there any questions so far?
No, sir.
Okay. So let us just simply do 3 rehearsals. Then I will tell you how do you manage these osteotomy, the important part. Planning is one aspect, but the major aspect is how would, if any such case presents to you, how are you going to manage that case? So in this case, as you can see, it is a 20 degrees of deformity in the AP plane, and whenever I'm just quickly marking the points.
Kindly repeat the graph.
The graph will be repeated over here. So this is again a 20 degrees deformity in both planes. By this X-ray, you know that it is the apex is of the deformity in the AP plane is medial. So it's a valgus deformity with a medial apex. Here it's again, it's a procurvatum deformity with an anterior apex, as you can see. Okay, now I have calculated the magnitude of deformity in both the planes, AP and a lateral X-ray, and this has given me the exact magnitude of the deformity in both the axes. It is 20 degrees in AP and 20 degrees in the lateral view. Now this is a graph, and now as you can see, if I make a foot over here, if I this will be the medial end, this will be the anterior end, okay, of this graph. This will represent the this side will represent the medial side, and this will represent the anterior side. So what will I do is, it is a 20 degrees medial deformity. So if this is 1 centimeter, it will 10 millimeters. Okay, so this is 10 degrees, and add another 10 millimeters, will add another 10 degrees. So this will be the my location of deformity in the medial side, meaning to say in the AP X-ray, this is the amount of valgus, and in a lateral view, this is the anterior end and this is the posterior end, and it's a procurvatum. So with an anterior apex, so I will go up 10 millimeters, 20 millimeters, and this location will be this will point to the amount of procurvatum. And when these two lines, then I will join these two lines. Okay, when I will join these two lines, this line will give me the exact deformity. This line tells me that the magnitude of deformity is 44 degrees. Okay, this line has told me that the magnitude of deformity is, total magnitude of this deformity is 44 degrees. And what is the angulation correction axis? When I will draw a line which is a perpendicular line to this, now I've now drawn a line which is perpendicular to this line. This has given me the axis on which I will place my hinges, okay, so that the deformity is corrected. Let me show you if you can all see this. What will I do now is, I will place my I'll appropriate size ring, and then I will put it over the centered over the bone. I will keep this graph, and I will place the appropriate size ring with centered over this location, and the place where this line I think I'll show you by drawing. Okay, it will be better if I simply draw it for you. One of you has raised hand. What was the question? So assuming that this was the magnitude of the deformity, so it was a 30 degrees, let's suppose here, and 30 degrees here. So this was the exact location of the deformity. What I did was, I drew a line which is exactly perpendicular to this line. This is how I drew the line, assuming that this is the center location of the bone. Okay, this is the center of the bone. So what I will do now is, I will place an appropriate size Ilizarov ring centered over that particular point, and the place where this line with the number of holes on which this line will cross will give me the location of the holes, okay, where I will have to place my hinges. Later on, when I will show you the X-ray, show you a clinical case, you'll get a better picture. So this is just to tell you how to get an angulation correction axis in an oblique plane deformity. Okay. So what will I do then is, centered over this point, I will place my ring. My Ilizarov ring will be placed like this. Okay. My Ilizarov ring will be placed like this. This will be the exact anterior point. I will mark it as exact anterior. Okay. So then I will wait a second, please. I made error. Okay. This I will mark this location. This point is exact anterior. Okay. So this will be the exact anterior, and whenever I will apply an Ilizarov, this point will stay anterior. So as you all know, there are multiple holes in an Ilizarov ring. So I will mark that one hinge will be applied, just one hole right to the most anterior hinge, to the anterior point, and one other will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. It will be the sixth ring, the sixth hole where I will apply my other hinge. Okay. I think I would have to mute you all, because you keep on unmuting yourselves, and then this is how I will calculate my angulation correction axis. So now I'm going to move away from this point and come to the real part. How do you acutely correct your oblique plane deformities? Okay. So that you can what you can actually do whenever you encountered an oblique plane deformity. So this girl, I gave you an example of this girl. She's actually a case of pseudarthrosis of tibia, and because of that she developed a deformity higher above, but we're going to ignore this deformity, just focus on this deformity. This was a 42 degrees deformity in the AP plane and a 50 deformity, 50 degrees. We again did the planning in a similar way. What's important is, which I'm going to tell you now, whenever you're going to do an acute osteotomy, I planned in this case, let me show you first. I did not apply hinges. I just did an osteotomy. I straightened the bone, and then I applied an Ilizarov fixator. This was the X-ray. The deformity was corrected acutely. So how can you do this? The main principle is, while doing the surgery, you need to image your bone image your bone at an angle which gives you the maximum magnitude of the deformity. So as we can, I have this case over here as well. Let's see, this is the magnitude of the deformity. If I ask someone that, let's see that this is an AP view, a deformity, so that in lateral view you should not be able to see anything. Okay. So now if I ask you that whether if there is an oblique plane, deformities in the oblique plane, and I keep showing you, if I say that, are you seeing this maximum magnitude of its deformity? Some of you might say that yes, this view is the maximum view. If I say make it this way, if I place this bone in this way, some of you will say no, this is the maximum magnitude. So there is always going to be chance of an error. So, but in this way, all of you will say that none of you can see the deformity. Okay, if there is a little bit deformity, you'll be able to appreciate. So in this view, none of you is able to. So in this view, none of you is able to see the deformity. And since I told you, if it's a frontal plane deformity, the exact 90-degree other view is going to show you no deformity. If it's an AP view deformity, if it's a frontal plane deformity, the lateral view, which is exactly 90 degrees to the AP view, will show you no deformity. So similar is the case in the case of an oblique deformity. If you see the deformity, if you apply a beam of light from the front, you'll see no deformity. And if you take an X-ray which is exactly 90 degrees to this deformity, this is going to show you the maximum magnitude of the deformity. Okay, so what is happening over here is you are seeing no deformity. What happens is, this is the case, what you do is you place your C-arm in such a way that you're not able to see any deformity. You neutralize your deformity. Then at an angle, the angle on which you place your C-arm, you exactly rotate it 90 degrees. And when you exactly rotate it to your 90 degrees, you'll see the maximum magnitude of your deformity. And on this particular plane, if you apply your hinges, they will be exactly along the plane of the deformity. Or if you do an osteotomy on that angle, that will completely correct the deformity. Let me demonstrate it to you on a whiteboard. So now this is now I'm planning to make a closing wedge, and then I'm planning to correct the deformity. So usually when you hear that you need to take out a trapezoidal wedge to correct a particular deformity. So let me tell you a simpler way, an easier way through which you can correct your deformity. So if you may take out a wedge, let's see, this is the deformity. Wait a second. This is this is a deformity. Okay, in order to completely correct it, obviously you need to take out a wedge, because the correct bone will look like this. Okay, so obviously you need to take out the osteotomy should be exact perpendicular to the long axis. Okay, it should be this direction. This osteotomy should be exactly perpendicular to the long axis of the this part of the bone. And when you'll take out another osteotomy, your osteotomy is also exactly perpendicular to the lower part of the bone. When you will take out this bone and then you straighten it, it will be a perfectly corrected deformity. Okay, so same is if again, if it's this is the deformity, and now you see from this angle, so you need to make a wedge which is exactly perpendicular in this view as well. Okay, so only if you take perfect perpendicular wedges, then when you'll straighten out the leg, those bone wedges will be approximating. So this is where the correct placement of your C-arm comes. So what happens is, you've got an oblique plane deformity. What you do is, in the first view, you place your image and parallel to the deformity, and then using guide wires you mark two wires which are exactly parallel. Okay, so what you again do is you mark your saw bone which is exactly parallel to the beam and exactly perpendicular to the long axis. So when you rotate it exactly 90 degrees, when you rotate your C-arm 90 degrees, then again, simply by taking parallel saw, taking your saw exactly parallel, you'll be making two osteotomies which are exactly parallel, and you'll correct the bone perfectly. I hope it's a very tricky concept. I hope I'm making it very clear to you that if an oblique plane deformity is like this, and you wish to plan it by your standard AP and lateral views, then you'll be considering taking out a very complex trapezoidal shape of wedge. If you plan from the front, you'll be taking an oblique. You'll have to bring your saw in an oblique direction, again in an oblique direction. Only if you simply make your deformity, if you just go in the plane of your deformity, you align your C-arm in the plane of your deformity, then exact perpendicular to the deformity, it will exactly behave like a one plane deformity. Oblique plane deformity is not a deformity which is in two planes. Actually, it is in a plane which is neither in true anterior view or a lateral view. It's in a plane in the between. So when you approach the plane in which the deformity is, the correction will be similar as if correcting the deformity whether it was in an anterior plane or a lateral plane. So you just take out your wedge exactly parallel. You do your osteotomies which are perpendicular to the long axis, and then you can simply correct your deformity. Are there any questions so far? If you want me to repeat it, I will repeat it.
Dr. Rehan want to repeat the ring placement of the Lazarov.
Just forget about the ring placement. First, we will ensure that I'm going to ensure that all of you know the acute correction concept. In the end, I'm going to show you a case of mine of oblique plane in which I applied hinges. In that case, you will be able to understand the concept of Ilizarov ring placement. Okay. Any question regarding acute,
Okay.
the osteotomy, the concept of osteotomy, which I just told you? First, let us clear this concept, then we will move to the Ilizarov gradual portion. Are there any questions so far?
No, sir.
Okay, everything is clear to you right now?
I hope clear.
That's very good. So let us, for a moment, let us go back.
Please unmute the Dr. Rehan. He want to ask something that is not clear to me.
No, he's asking about the Ilizarov ring fixator. I'll be telling you about this in my last 15 minutes. These 15 minutes are for acute correction concept. Okay. I will tell you, Dr. Rehan, I will tell you about the Ilizarov concept, the gradual correction in detail in last 15 minutes. These 15 minutes are for planning and acute correction, because this is what most of you will be doing in these cases. Even most of anyone does in these cases is everyone usually goes for acute correction. Gradual correction only when the deformity is more or there is the skin or soft tissue problems. So this was case number 1. Let us quickly discuss case number 2. Okay. Again, what we're going to do is the same. We're going to simply as you can see, the magnitude of the deformity here is 23 degrees. Again, I'm not going to the, I'm not planning this exactly. I'm just giving you a rough idea so that you can. So it's 29 degrees in one plane and 23 degrees in other plane. As you can see, the apex here is lateral now, but the apex in the lateral view is anterior. Okay, apex in the lateral view, so it's a I would say it's a valgus procurvatum deformity. Sorry, it's a varus procurvatum deformity because the apex is lateral and anterior. So again, I told you that this is anterior, this is medial side, this is lateral side, and this is posterior side. What I will be doing now is using my scale, I will be marking, first I'll be marking 23 degrees on this side. Okay, so let's say that this is 10 degrees, this is 20, and this is 23. So this is my 23 degrees line, and since the deformity here is 29 degrees, so this is 20, this is 29 will end up over here. So this is the exact location of the deformity. As you can see, it is a deformity somewhere in between the this deformity has got both procurvatum and a varus component to it, and this is the exact location of the deformity. This is the exact location of the deformity, and the length of this line is going to tell me the exact magnitude of the deformity. Okay, and when I will draw a line which is exactly perpendicular to this line, whenever I will draw a line which is exactly perpendicular to this line is the angulation correction axis. My deformity will correct along this axis. Okay, it will correct. If this were, if you simply take this case, if this were a simple valgus deformity, or sorry, a varus deformity, then what I have done and I would have simply divided this deformity. I would have placed a bisector. This would have been my angulation correction axis, and by placing the hinges at this particular point would have corrected the deformity. Okay, so same is the position over here. When I will place another thing which I think some of you might have questioned. In this view, I'm looking the leg from the front, but in this view, I'm looking the from this side. I'm looking from the head end of the patient. This is the foot end. Okay, so this line along, whenever I am going to place my hinges along this line, this is going to simply correct the deformity. Okay, my location, the placement of my hinges would be, then I will be placing my ring so that's it. If this is the line, when I will place my ring, appropriate sign. First, let's see that I have planned to apply a 160 centimeter, 160 millimeter ring. So I will place my ring over like this, and the holes on which this line will intersect will give me the location of my hinges. I will place my hinges exactly on those holes, so they will give me the location. So if I have a true a true frontal plane deformity, and I'm looking the patient from the head end, then this is my Ilizarov ring which I have applied, and the other ring is just parallel to this ring. The location of my hinges will be exact anteroposterior, because I would want to correct my deformity like this. If I see like this, I would want to correct my deformity like this. So when I'm seeing from the head end, the placement of the hinges will be exact anteroposterior. Or if I have got a procurvatum or a recurvatum deformity, then the location of the hinges from seeing from the head end would be exactly like this, and the deformity will be correcting like this. But since it's an oblique plane deformity, this particular line will mark the location of the hinges. So the location of the hinges will be somewhere like this, and the deformity will get corrected in this plane. Okay, so let's discuss the third scenario.
They repeatedly asked the question. Now the question was about the removal of amount of wedge. How much wedge have to be removed?
The
Oblique
amount
plane
of wedge,
deformity.
okay, because the oblique plane, that's why you're doing this graphical planning. This is going to tell you the exact magnitude of your deformity. Okay, and the exact magnitude of your deformity is when you will add up the frontal plane deformity and the plane deformity. So let's see if the deformity is 25 degrees in an anterior plane, or if it's 27 degrees in a lateral plane. When you'll place these 2 points in the graphical representation, it will tell you the exact magnitude of the deformity, and the amount of wedge which will need it to be removed is according to that particular magnitude of the deformity. Okay, that's why you're doing all this graphical planning. So again, in this case, usually you
Sir,
see
can you explain it by an example? How much deformity is there? How much angle is there?
yes, I've planned in the end I'll be showing you two cases, one in which I've corrected acutely and one gradually. This will help you a lot. Okay, first let
Okay.
us focus on the planning, and in the end I've planned two cases to show you. So usually you see cases like this when there is because of some growth injury, growth arrest of physis. Usually these kind of deformities also form when there is tibial slope is deranged, and there is some varus or valgus deformities as well. These are the X-rays that you encounter most commonly. So in this scenario, as you can see now, it's the 35 degrees magnitude of recurvatum is there, and the magnitude of deformity over here is 17 degrees. Okay, so it is the 17 degrees in the frontal plane and 17 degrees of valgus in the frontal plane and 35 degrees of recurvatum. Okay, so in this graph they've marked the graph in the posterior direction. This is the anterior direction, this is the posterior, this is the medial, and this is the lateral direction. Again, what are you going to do is I'm going to mark a 17 degrees line in the lateral direction. Let's see, this is 10 degrees, this is 20, so it will be somewhere in between. But exactly whenever you'll be doing your actual planning, you'll have a paper and you'll mark it using a scale. You'll first measure it, and it was a 35 degrees over here. So we decided that this is a 20-degree mark, this is 30 degree, and 35 is somewhere over here. So This is the exact location of the deformity. Let us calibrate this. So for one case, let us do the exact planning. This is 17. So now I've told my software that what is my reference size is. So I was saying that this component is exactly 2 centimeters. So let us keep this 2 centimeters. So exact 1.7. Okay. This is the mark of 1.7. And now let us measure the 35 degrees. This is the mark for 35 degrees. And when we draw this line, this is telling us that it's as you can see, it's 38 centimeter, 3.8 centimeters is mentioned. So the magnitude of the deformity is 38 degrees. Okay. When we measure this line using the scale, it's going to tell us that the magnitude of deformity is 38 centimeters. Okay. And again, what are we going to do is we are going to apply mark a 90-degree line. Exact 90-degree line to this point. And this point is going to give me the location. This line is the angulation correction axis along which my rotation will give me the correct deformity correction of my exact deformity. Okay. So when I will be applying a hinge over here, when I will take my ring, let's see if whether it's a 160 ring or a 180 ring, depending upon the size, since all of these measurements are being done on real time, but there is no magnification error. So my original placement of the ring will going to tell me the location of the hinges. Okay, so I've placed my hinge over here, centered over this part. This will be the center part because this is the center of the bone, and this will locate the number of holes. This will be the exact anterior hole. I will mark this point as an anterior, and whenever I am applying my assembly in the ring, this will be my exact anterior. This hole should be true anterior in true AP view. When I've placed the knee, patella is directly upwards, and I'm looking at this particular image, that particular point must be anterior. So this placement, if I've placed my ring like this, then hinges will originate from these holes, and this will exactly correct the deformity. Are there any questions so far?
No, sir.
Okay, now let me show you the case which I'm telling you about. Okay, this was the first case. As I told you, she was a case of pseudarthrosis with an oblique plane deformity. So what I did, what helps you in your planning is the way I told you that you get an X-ray, align your C-arm exactly perpendicular to that plane of the deformity. What helps you a lot is if you get an X-ray if you also get an X-ray which is exactly perpendicular to that plane of the deformity, okay, it also helps you. By this way, if you are doing your planning, to correct the deformity by taking out a wedge, since it's an unmagnified X-ray, on that X-ray you can mark the angles and you can calculate the amount of wedge that you want to remove, okay. The main goal is you want to take out wedges, make the bone edges perpendicular, okay. If this
So
is the
can we
bone,
take a CT scanogram of this along with the X-rays?
no. What's a CT scanogram is going to? There is no added information
With the
which a CT
3D,
scanogram is going to hear.
3D.
No. Look, keep this in mind. CT scanogram is not to tell you a 3D CT reconstruction of the limb. It will not guide you in your planning. Okay, it is only when there is some rotational element, there is complex deformities, there is some condylar hypoplasia, these kind of things. You do your CT scanogram, your 3D reconstruct of your gram only to see these cases, okay? Because whenever you're planning, whenever you're correcting the deformity, actually in your OR, you are looking at an X-ray, you are looking at a C-arm, you are not looking at a CT scan. So do your planning only on your X-rays so that you can replicate it during your surgery, okay? The main aim of this deformity correction here is when you'll take out a perpendicular wedge, okay, whenever your wedge is exactly perpendicular to the long axis, the deformity will be corrected. Again, let's see whether now it's an AP and a lateral view, okay. And why I'm saying that you'll be needing a trapezoidal wedge if you are doing your osteotomy on true AP on true lateral view. See, here you're taking out a wedge like this again and again. And in AP view, again, it's perpendicular. And the deformity is in this plane, you're making an osteotomy like this. Planning on osteotomy like this, you can't really do osteotomy like this. You will be aiming your saw like this while looking at the lateral view. So it will be an oblique shape. Your osteotomy will be, your saw will be in oblique direction. Similarly, when you will be seeing through a lateral view, it's again will be, this is the direction of the osteotomy, and you shoot like this, the saw will be going like this. So you will end up making an oblique plane, you will go in an oblique direction, a trapezoidal shape of wedge. So which is very complex. So it is easier that you simply align your X-ray in line and you take out straight bone. The amount of wedge that you need to remove is you have to consider your aim that you want to make the edges exactly perpendicular to the long axis, okay? Keeping your hinges over here, as you can see, this is the bump. Just keep your hinge over here and make a perpendicular line, okay? Make a perpendicular line in both planes and you'll be correcting your deformity. Let me, you can look at this.
Sir, we have previously we have calculated a 35 centimeter millimeter of deformity. What does it means? How can we replicate in angles? How to correct the how it can help us in correction?
It will tell me the magnitude of deformity, okay? I know that the exact magnitude of deformity is 38 degrees, okay? And it is in which direction, it will exactly help me locate the axis of the deformity, the plane of deformity, and the magnitude of deformity, okay? If I cannot simply look at an anterior view and a lateral view and plan my oblique view using these two views, okay? So it is important for me that I know in which plane my deformity is and what is the magnitude of deformity in that plane, okay? So that I can plan whether it is feasible for me to acutely correct it, or I need to do a gradual correction. So I know that it is a 38 degrees of deformity. I will never aim or plan or correcting a 38 degrees deformity acutely. My cutoff is 25 degrees or maximum 25 degrees. I'll not go
Okay.
beyond acutely correct any deformity which is beyond that point. Okay. So
Fine.
whenever there is a deformity, you need to know the location of the original 4 malalignment test, 4 questions remain the same. I need to know where the deformity is. I need to know in which plane the deformity is. Okay. If it's in between, if it's somewhere in between, if the deformity has got both the aspects, one of valgus and a procurvatum, I need to know in which plane the deformity is and what is the magnitude of the deformity. So in this case, as you can see, this was the deformity. This was my planning. I had to take out a large amount of wedge. In this case, since it was a case of pseudarthrosis, I wanted to remove all the dead soft tissue as well. So I had to remove a long amount of wedge so that I do not end up stretching out the vessels and the nerves and compromise the neurovascular status. So I had to take a large amount of wedge over here. And you can see the edges have been approximated. Since this girl had a deformity in the condyle as well, so the x-ray, it was somewhat of a skew deformity, and then later on it was a skew shaped bone. Later on I did an osteotomy and I did lengthening as well, and in the end this was the final picture. The bone, it is here, you can see the bone, it is united, the length has been achieved here. As you can see, the bone has united, lengthening has been achieved, and here in this case, as you can see now, since it is not a proper scanogram, so you'll have some difficulty. Here the axis has not been restored, since because of this upper deformity, I just corrected the limb alignment. Okay, I corrected the joint orientation. The alignment is not strictly restored because it was a case of pseudarthrosis. I was not willing to do complicated osteotomies. So I ended up parallel, making the joints parallel and making the look straight. Okay. So now another deformity. This is a girl with a complex deformity. As you can see over here, maybe yes. Here you can see the deformity is in this picture. As you can see, it is not a true procurvatum or an antasagittal plane deformities. There is a mediolateral element to the deformity as well, and an procurvatum as well. So clinically, we can appreciate that there is a varus element and a very large procurvatum element to this deformity. Okay? A very small element of varus and a very large component of procurvatum. So this was the X-ray. As you can see, a very large procurvatum and some varus. In this, I aligned the X-ray. This gave me the maximum magnitude of the deformity. And let me show you where the hinges. Look, this hinges were placed like this. What I did was, first I rotated my C-arm to a point where I was not able to see any deformity. And then I rotated my C-arm exactly 90 degrees. So this gave me the exact plane of my deformity, okay? And on that plane, I applied my hinges. This is a shoot-through view. We call it a shoot-through view. This is the maximum deformity, which you can see right now. And the hinges were placed like this. I had C-arm images of this exact point as well, but I was not able to find these. And you can see from the front that the osteot, it is exactly in this plane. There, this is the shoot-through view from the medial side. And then we started gradually opening up. The case is still underway. As you can see, the deformity is correcting itself. It is in both planes. It is automatically realigning itself in both planes. As you can see, this is the most recent clinical picture. As you can see, the deformity is correcting itself. Are there any questions so far? This was a very conceptual part, and I'm sure most of you will have many questions.
No, those two queries previously that has been put it are there.
Sure.
No
Please
other
ask.
question.
Please ask those queries, and then I'll repeat it. I'll answer those queries.
Dr. Rehan was asking about the
Please, can you?
small.
I will simply unmute Dr. Rehan, and I will ask what he wants. Let me, Dr. Rehan, can you please unmute yourself, and you can ask me what you are asking. Dr. Rehan.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Walaikum assalam. Yes, sure.
I wanted to ask the placement of rings and the placement of hinges and motors. I'm confused about the placement of hinges and motors. Kindly, if you can elaborate these points as well.
Okay. Do you have any other question? Okay, that's fine. So let me go back to my.
And one other thing.
Yes, sure.
Initially, you showed a diagram on which you placed a small ring, and you told that the whole placements. I couldn't understand that point as well. The whole placement and the placement of hinges. These two things.
Okay, sure. No problem at all. No problem. Okay. Let me grab a plain piece of paper, and so this is a piece of paper. Let me draw. Okay. You are not able to see some. Okay. Can you see the line?
It is little bit blur.
Hope I have a dark colored marker over here with me. No.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is the graph which I have made. Okay. This is the big toe, small toe. Okay. This is the medial side. This is the lateral side. This is the anterior side, and this is the posterior side. So we have assumed that we have got a patient in which there is the apex is medial and anterior. So it's a procurvatum valgus deformity. The magnitude comes out to be, let's see, that it's a 20-degree deformity in the medial side, and it's a 40 degrees deformity in the anterior word. Okay. So what I do is I simply connect these two lines, and measuring this line will give me the exact magnitude of the deformity. And I told you that a line which is exactly 90 degrees to this is going to tell me where my angulation correction axis is. What I told you is I'm going to place my ring like this. So again, the ring has to be placed like this, centered over the bone, and I will mark this point as my reference AP point. Okay. I mark this point, this one ring as my reference ring. Okay. I've marked this ring as my reference. Yeah. I've told you that this is the anterior ring. Okay, you can mark it, simply mark it with a black pen or so that you know that this is an exact anterior ring. When you use two half rings, the exact where you have joined these two half rings, usually that's the point, exact anterior point. Okay, so I've marked this point, and since this now I'm going to, let's say this is the exact location, this is the exact ACA. Let's see, this is the ACA. Okay, this is where these two lines met. Okay, since the ring which I've got is a very small, it was designed for an animal study, so I've placed my ring like this. Okay, my anterior is over this. This is going to tell me where I'm going to apply my hinges. This hole and this hole is the location where I will be applying my hinges. Okay, so this is the reference ring, and I'll know that one hole left and 1, 2, 3, and fourth hole to the medial is, these are the location of my hinges. Now let me move back to the original case that I wanted to show you, that I actually showed you before. Actually, when I did these cases, I was not I had no plans of organizing this webinar. Otherwise, I would have take pictures of these planning. As you can see, here you can see, this is my reference ring. As you can see here, this is my reference ring. It tells me where exactly the true AP is. Okay, this has an internal torsion as well. This and on this sketch, I was able to mark the exact location. It told me that this was the reference hole. It told me that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have to go 6 holes to the lateral, and similarly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 holes to the medial. This is how I needed to go. Sorry, this was the reference point. So 7 holes, I had to go 7 holes to the lateral and 5 holes to the medial. So this is how I was able to locate my exact location of the hinges. And when I moved along that hinges, as you can see, the deformity is correcting itself. Okay, the limb is aligning and everything is correcting itself. I hope this answers your question.
Yes,
Dr. Kassar Shah has raised a hand. What does he want to know?
Thank you, sir. Sir, actually, I want to know that how this graphics can help us in take a wedge. Other
Yes, that you have asked a good question. This graph is going to help me whenever I'm planning my correction using any laser off fixator. Look, it is going to help me. Number one, first it is going to tell me the exact location of the deformity, and it is going to tell me the magnitude of the deformity. Okay, and the third part is, if I'm planning to correct this deformity gradually, then by applying an angulation correction axis, it will tell me the location of my hinges. Okay, if I want to do an acute correction, it will only tell me the exact location and the magnitude. Rest, the amount of wedge which I'll be taking out is based on the concept which I told you earlier, that using your C-arm, you mark your wedges, which is exactly perpendicular to the long axis in the both views, and you simply then, and since you have made the edges straight, and when you'll simply connect the edges, it will realign your bone. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So this concludes this series of webinars. These were very wonderful These were very wonderful few weeks. We had 7 sessions and they all went very well. I would thank all of you who attended this session. Dr. Abdul Sattar, you were a great help. You moderated this event very well. I would like to say special thanks to Formivo Pharmaceutical who gave us this platform on which we did all of our webinars, and we are hoping that we will continue all these events in future. I would really like to thank Dr. Amir Aziz it's only because of his guidance and his encouragement we are able to do all these wonderful things, all these academic sessions. It is because of his teaching and his encouragement we are all able to do all these things. And I would like to thank many other people and a special someone who's helped me on planning and all this and concepting this point. So hopefully this is not our last session. We will inshallah continue to have these informative webinars, and next webinars most probably would be on different aspects of Ilizarov, mostly whether how to tackle with non-unions, how to apply a proper assembly, small topics, not these big topics. We will be inshallah continuing with these sessions, and hope to see you all in future again. Thank you very much for attending these sessions, and I hope that all of you have submitted your full names and email addresses, and your e-certifications will be given to you in a few days. Okay, thank you and Allah Hafiz.
Yes, sir.